Sometimes I used to think I wasn't good enough. I wasn't light enough, I wasn't right enough. My hair wouldn't straighten up. So I used to walk around with my spirit hanging low, wishing I could change the way that you create.
Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. Most High Christ bless. You are now tuned into the Natives Hour, home of the 10 tribes. I'm Captain Gannon to my right. Officer Uriel. All praises, all praises. Shalom. We're going to get into it, right? Here on the Natives Hour. The Natives Hour, where we go over the news. Bring out the truth. And bring out the history in the Bible of what's going on to the so-called Hispanics, so-called Native American Indians who God calls Israel, right? That's what God calls you. I don't call you Brazilian. I don't call you Mexican. I don't call you none of that. So we're going to bring news to what's going on with our Bring it out. All right, so let's get right into it. Let's get right into it because I found this to be very, what's the word? Insulting. Very insulting and very prideful. Matter of fact, let me get there real quick. Get Malachi 1. Very, very prideful. This man is very prideful.
And don't even try to hide it either.
Huh?
Don't even try to hide it either.
Don't even care, man. Just speaking lies as if it's the truth. Read that. Yeah. Get my bad, Malachi.
The book of Obadiah, chapter 1 and verse 1. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom.
Concerning Edom, read on.
We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen.
Get to the point.
Verse 3. The pride of thine heart have deceived thee.
God says the pride of this man's heart. Hey, turn your mic down. God says the pride of this man's heart, his mind, his will, his desire has deceived him. Read on.
Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock.
Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, the Caucasus Mountains of, what is it? Caucasus Mountains, Russia.
Georgia, Russia.
Caucasus Mountains, clefts of the rocks. Read on.
You got to get the phlegm.
Yeah, you got to get with the phlegm. Clefts, Caucasus.
Got to pull the phlegm out.
Go ahead.
thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock,
Read on.
whose habitation is high.
Whose habitation is high. That's why they love Scotch. They love
Right.
building crap. Habitation is high. But that was the point. God says they are prideful. Not giving Malachi 1. This man is prideful. You know, it's crazy. You know how much power he got? He got so much power that he convinced a whole nation of people that the so-called Native American Indians were savages, that they didn't have no civilizations, that they was booty scratchers. They didn't have clothing. They didn't have health care. They didn't have cities. They didn't have governments. Fooled a whole nation of people to believe that.
Convince them that they're the one who brought civilization
Right.
in order for the king.
Come on,
Right,
man.
to the so-called Native Americans. Read.
The book of Malachi, chapter 1 and verse 4. Whereas
Bring it out.
Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places.
Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down.
Watch this.
And they shall call them the border of wickedness.
The border of wickedness, the beginning of wickedness. I can read in the book of Maccabees. White man came in power, evil multiplied on the earth. That means this white man has done more evil than any other civilization that has ever ruled the planet. This white man has done more evil than any other people. It says the border of wickedness, read on.
And the people
Every last one of them,
against whom the Lord hath indignation forever.
this is why God hates them. This is why God hates them. Go to the article. Why God hates them. They're prideful, man, to say some crap. Matter of fact, pull up the video first and then we'll read it. I want everybody to hear it out of his mouth. Hear it out of the dog's mouth.
Right. Exactly what they
Pull
are.
up the video first, then we'll read the article. Go ahead, play that.
Much Native American culture in American culture. We came here and created a blank slate. We birthed a nation from nothing. I mean, there's nothing here. I mean, yes, we have Native Americans, but candidly, that there isn't much Native American culture in American culture. It was born of people who came here pursuing religious liberty to practice their faith, to live as they ought to live. I don't know of any other country in the world that was settled predominantly by people who were practicing.
Stop.
They came.
Bro, he telling you something without telling you.
Right.
He telling you the Christianity faith believes in murdering God's people. That's their faith. Stay with me, y'all. That's their faith. Give me Deuteronomy 28.
It's crazy.
Give me Deuteronomy 28 and verse 49.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 49.
Bring it out.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth.
They come to practice their faith, right? Let's see what their faith was. Read on.
From the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
Go ahead.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, and as swift as the eagle. So-called white man represents the eagle. They tell you on their dollar bill. They tell you on their flags at the White House, their flags at the courthouses. It's an eagle on top of it. They tell you. So this is their religion that they came to practice. Verse 50.
Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance.
This is their faith, like he said. There's never been another country that have came and built a civilization to practice their faith. Their faith was murder. Their faith was genocide. Read.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young.
Read.
Verse 51. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land.
Did not the white man come over here and do all of this to the so-called Native American Indians? Did not that happen?
Bruh.
Didn't give a damn about the old. Didn't give a damn about the young. Came and killed the cattle. Learned how to crop just to destroy the crops. We reading it right here. This is their faith that they came to practice. They came to practice Christianity, aka genocide of God's people.
Right.
That's exactly what that is. That's the faith. Go back to that. Y'all killing me, bro. Come on.
Came here because they were not allowed to practice their country. So they came here mostly from Europe, and they set up a country that was based on Judeo-Christian principles. I say Judeo-Christian, the Mosaic
Go back.
laws.
Go back. It said it was based off of what? Go back.
That was based on Judeo-Christian principles.
Judeo-Christian principles. This dude is telling you to your face that Christianity represents murder. Christianity represents genocide. He's telling you to your face. They came to practice the Judeo-Christian principles.
Right. We're going to show you because how you know Esau read our history. How you know Esau had our hands before they even came to this side of the world. They knew that we was here. If you go to can I get that real quick? Bring it out. Let's go to Second Ezra. Go to Second Ezra. You know what I want.
The book of Second Ezra, chapter 13 and verse.
Bring it out. Turn your mic down a little bit, please.
The book of Second Ezra, chapter 13 and 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive. And he carried them over the waters. So came they into another land.
So Northern Kingdom came into another land. Read on.
But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country.
Read on.
Where never mankind dwells.
Where nobody was ever at. Read.
That they might there keep their statutes.
Hold on. That they might there keep their statutes. Read on.
Which they never kept in their own land.
So, that's how you know Esau read our history. You know Esau knew, for one, where we was at. Two, the reason why we came to this side. Now you hearing out the devil's mouth himself, we came over here to practice Judeo-Christian.
Hey, you know it's crazy, bro. He's not wrong. That's the problem. He's not wrong. They did come to practice Judeo-Christianity because Christianity is a religion of blood. Christianity is the bloodiest religion known to man.
Right.
They say, Islam, because they blow themselves up and they kill people. Christianity is so bloody because it's generationally killing people.
Right.
Generationally. That means 4, 5, 6, 10 generations of people have been indoctrinated to love their enemy, have been indoctrinated to turn the other cheek, have been indoctrinated that believe that Jesus is white. That's more damage than anything.
Right. You either follow us or you die.
Right.
Basically.
Go ahead. Go back. Run it back like 10 seconds.
Country. So they came here mostly from Europe, and they set up a country that was based on Judeo-Christian principles. I say Judeo-Christian, the Mosaic laws and commandments, and the teachings.
Stop! Oh, Jesus. Let's go to the 10 Commandments. This devil said that the white man came to Arsareth,
right,
the home of the so-called Hispanics and Native American Indians, and set up God's commandments.
How, Sway?
10 Commandments. Watch this. Let's read Exodus 20 and 2.
Book of Exodus.
Let's just go through. Let's go through a few commandments.
Right.
Go ahead.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 2.
Bring it out.
I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
That's the first commandment. Right. Did not the white man come over here with a white image of Christ? That's another God.
Right.
Did they not come over here and started celebrating Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving? Did not they do that? Those are other gods. Read.
Verse 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven
Did
image.
not they come over here with the cross, with the wood and the stone? They came over here, put the cross, and said, you better worship Christianity or you're going to burn to the stake.
Exactly.
That's another image. Jump down to verse 13.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 13. Thou shalt not kill.
Read it again.
Thou shalt not kill.
How you setting up God's laws when you yourself ain't keeping God's laws? How you expect a nation to thrive when the leaders of the nation don't even keep the laws they put into place? It's impossible.
Right.
The 10 Commandments say, thou shalt not kill. The first thing they did when they came over here was murder, kill. Watch the next one. Watch this.
Verse 14. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
They committed adultery. They used to steal the wives of our brothers and rape them.
Yep.
Have sex with them. They committed adultery from the first moment they seen eyes on our sisters.
What?
Hell, even they used to rape the men. They used to rape the married men.
Right.
Adultery.
Right.
Sodomizing our men. Watch the next one.
That's crazy, man.
Verse 15. Thou shalt not steal.
They came over and stole a whole continent. Stole the continent and then stole the people of the continent.
Right.
But this damn devil says they came over here. His ancestors came over here and established God's commandments.
They came over to break the commandments.
They came over here to put Israel in bondage.
Right.
Go back.
You can read through the whole 10 Commandments. They broke
every last one of them.
Every single one of them.
So,
Christ. We're out in the moral and teaching. That's, I say Judeo-Christian, the Mosaic laws and commandments and the teachings of Jesus Christ. We're out in the moral. That's what our founding documents are based on. It's in our DNA. You know, if you think of other countries like Italy and Greece and China and Turkey and places like that, they've all sort of changed over time. I mean, they've been there for millennia, and their culture has sort of evolved over.
What's this, y'all?
But not us. Religious.
Stop. I don't think y'all understand what this man just said. This man just said that many cultures change over time, but not us. That lets you know why they still killing us.
It's in our DNA.
That lets you know why they still murder us in the street.
Right.
Why they pushing abortions? Why they pushing drugs? He just told you. They DNA don't change. Give me Sirach. Give me Sirach, man. That's why the Lord say, watch this. Give me Sirach, chapter 12, verse 10. This man just said, but not us. We the only country that don't change. What he said is in my DNA. That's what this white man just said. Read Sirach 12.
He ain't changing.
He ain't changing. That's why they kill us every day. Yeah, we talking some, why is this not a change? We need a change. A change gonna come. That's what we need.
Right.
I know a change gonna come.
We need to forgive.
Forgive. We need to march. You know what? Let's vote. Let's make it political.
Right.
You niggas are crazy.
This man just said out his own mouth that white people don't change.
Right. DNA.
Read.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, Sirach in the Apocrypha, chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
Hey, turn your mic down. Turn it back up when you. So God says, never trust thine enemy. Never trust thine enemy. For like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Meaning what? Eventually, this white man will show you his wickedness will come out.
Right.
His true nature, his DNA, like he just said, his DNA will be exposed. It will come out. This man just said every other nation has changed but America. And they hold true to that. They hold firm to that. He just told out your mouth. And it's the same man that ran for president.
Amazing.
2 years ago. 2011, 15, something like that. Ran for president. I mean, he's big in the political world. So he knows things. He knows people in the higher ups.
Right.
He got pull. He got authority. He's telling you out of his own mouth, we ain't changed from when we first stepped foot on this continent. We've always been about murdering black people, murdering Hispanics, murdering Native American Indians, make sure that they stay on the bottom. We ain't changed that philosophy.
Damn.
Let's go. Go back.
Those are the two bulwarks of America, faith and freedom. You hear it all the time now, faith and freedom. But it is what makes America unique in the world.
Who are the people that run the world? It's not some shadowy secret society. It's the very people you'd think. Politicians, the ultra-rich, military contractors, monarchs, media moguls. Hi, I'm Sean Morrow, the host of Who Is the Podcast, the first podcast from Now This and iHeartRadio. On Who Is, I'll dive deep into the fascinating lives of the people who run things.
Right,
those who
go to the next one. Damn devil, man.
Rick Santorum and his critics are both wrong about Native American history. The founders terrorized and exterminated Native Americans instead of learning from them.
The founders of America terrorized and exterminated. That's a term you hear when you hear about the Holocaust. Right. Extermination. But you don't hear, you know what's crazy? I find this very amazing. America celebrates the Holocaust for people that wasn't even a part of American culture.
What?
Didn't live in America, nothing to do with America, all the way on the other side of the earth. They celebrate them and they give them more power than anyone.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But they won't even recognize the fact that the people that built this country, off the sweat of their backs, died, was exterminated, went through genocide. They don't have no reverence for them at all. There is no reverence for Geronimo. Ain't no reverence for Nat Turner. Ain't no reverence for nobody.
Come on, man.
Ain't no reverence for our founding fathers that built this country off the sweat of their brow. Picking cotton every day from sundown to sun up to sundown. Getting raped, getting robbed, getting murdered. Hey, go out and look at the what is it called? That movie? What's that show? The Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad. Look, hey, check that out, y'all. Check it out. On one scene, one of the brothers, grown man, father, he tried to run away. Right? And they end up catching him. So they beat this, they tied him up while they were having a picnic. While they was having a cookout, they beat this dude for hours, for a whole day. When they showed this man's body, it was ripped to shreds.
I hate it here.
And then, you know what they did? They called all the slaves, gather around. Come gather around and look at what happens when you try to run away. Set the brother on fire. Alive. In front of his son, in front of his wife, in front of his family. Set him on fire. We think this man loves us. He tell you every day how you feel about you.
Hell no.
And that's how they demasculated the male, man. Straight up destroyed your image. Whenever you hear the word exterminate, what comes to your mind? Insects,
out.
critters, animals. So that's how they see us. They see us as critters, as pests. Damn. As the lowest of the low.
Yep. Go back.
This week, former Senator Rick Santorum spoke at the Young America's Foundation, standing up for Faith and Freedom Conference. America, Santorum argued, was settled by people who were coming to practice their faith.
Yeah, the faith of murder. Go ahead.
Santorum saw himself and his audience as their heirs. We birthed a nation from nothing.
They said well, before the white man got here, this place was nothing.
Come on now.
That's what they're saying. That's what he's saying. Before Esau, the so-called white man, who God calls red, by the way, before they got here, they're saying that there was nothing here. Meaning it was people here, but they were savages. It was people here, but they needed the white man's attention. They needed the white man's guidance. When they've been living here for centuries.
Yep.
Been fishing and eating and living and being healthy for centuries. Cultivating for centuries. But when the white man got here, oh, wait a minute. Y'all need to build a civilization. Y'all are not civilized. Go ahead.
What? Santorum saw himself and his audience as heirs. We birthed a nation from nothing, he said. I mean, there was nothing here. I mean, yes, we have Native Americans.
Stop. You got to understand what he's saying. He's saying the Native Americans were nothing. They were nothing but savages. That's what he's saying. That's what he said. I mean, there was nothing here. I mean, yes, we have Native Americans, but candidly, there isn't much Native American culture in American history. What he's saying is we have destroyed the history of the Native American Indian. That's what he said. There is no history left because we have destroyed everything. Kill the Indian, save the man. Read.
The reaction was swift. On Twitter, enough people responded with the old argument that the United States Constitution was patterned upon that of the Iroquois League or the Haudenosaunee to get Iroquois Confederacy trending. But both Santorum and his critics got the history wrong. They both whitewashed American history, ignored the violence of the new nation, and downplayed the thoroughness of its campaign to dispossess indigenous peoples, including the Iroquois. This matters deeply because flawed Native American history is as harmful as Santorum's erasure of the indigenous past.
So it says flawed Native American history is as harmful as Santorum's erasure of the indigenous. What does that mean? That means that the history of the so-called Native American Indians is not pure. You cannot really find out the history of the so-called Native American Indians. The only way you can find it out is in the Bible. That's it.
Right.
That's the only place where you can find an untainted, pure history of who you are. You so-called Native Americans. I'm going to tell you what that means is this Bible is not a white man's book.
Right.
This Bible is not a white man's book. This Bible is your book.
Bring it
left
out.
in these last days so that you can come back to your father, come back to your nationality, because the white man destroyed your history. Destroyed it. He said, we made this country from nothing. It was nobody here. That's what this white man just said. But your history is right here in the Bible. Go back to the article.
The Iroquois influence thesis has been around a long time. The argument goes like this. The founders learned from the Haudenosaunee diplomats the strength and value of an unbreakable union. These lessons were offered at treaty grounds and councils where native peoples and European newcomers met. Iroquois presented a workable model of democracy and confederation for the men who wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Although it isn't true, the theory gained purchase and became popularized in 1988. The United States Senate even approved a resolution acknowledging the contributions made by the Iroquois Confederacy to the formation and development of the United States. In reality, however, the Iroquois League was not a democracy, but rather a place for ritual condolence and consolation among the League's 5 and later 6 nations. Mm-hmm. The League's sachems sought consensus but did not operate on the principle of majority rule. There is little about the Iroquois League in myth and historical memory that resembles the winner-take-all approach to politics engaged in by the American founders, their successors. So the version of Iroquois history that became so popular was simply wrong.
Was simply what?
Wrong.
Wrong. We know.
Moreover, history shows that at the time of the founding, there were plenty of existing models for the new government. Many of the colonies had a single executive, bicameral legislators, for example. The truth is, Americans disagreed about much during the era of the Revolution, but they were aligned in their racist expressions of hatred and fear toward indigenous people.
Stop. I want y'all to understand what he just said. The truth is, Americans disagreed about much during the era of the Revolution. What he's saying is, Americans were divided amongst each other concerning the revolution. But they were on one accord when it came to hating and fearing the so-called Native American Indians. That's what he said. But they were aligned in the racist expressions of hatred and fear. That means they was divided, but one. It was divided on the matters regarding themselves,
on certain fronts,
but they were one on the matters regarding your behind. Just like today.
Right.
Just like today. The political parties divided, Republican and Democrat, right? They are divided amongst issues regarding white folks. But the Republican and Democrats still had Joe behind in slavery.
Yep.
Bring it out. They still was for the murder of God's people. And you see that in
everywhere.
Well, no, I'm talking about you see that in the Underground Railroad too. You see that? Watch that thing. They escaped the South. They escaped the Jim Crow, the public murder, the public hangings and beatings and traditional slavery,
right, to
go up north to think they made it just to experience even worse oppressions and slavery. Amazing. Thinking that white folks is good. So white folks in the South will beat you with a smile on your face, publicly to your face.
Humiliate you.
Up north, they will tell you they love you, and in their mind, they still gonna kill you behind.
I hate it here.
Left wing, right wing, same eagle.
Same eagle, man. Go back. We almost done. We're gonna take a break in a little bit. Go ahead.
The truth is, Americans disagreed about much during the era of the Revolution, but they were aligned in their racist expressions of hatred and fear towards indigenous peoples. The same Declaration of Independence that affirmed that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness also condemned the king for inciting slave rebellions and stirring up the merciless Indian savages.
It says, also condemned the king for inciting slave rebellions and stirring up the merciless Indian savages. That's what you were to them, Indian savages. And today, guess what? We still Indian savages today.
What in the
They don't give a
hell?
damn. They don't give a damn how civilized you think you are. Go ahead.
Also condemned the king for inciting slave rebellions and stirring up merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
Go ahead.
And American forces fighting for their own freedom had no qualms about denying other peoples this same unalienable right.
So they were hypocrites. They're fighting for their freedom, but also slaving another people. They want their freedom, but they also want to take away Israel's freedom.
Damn! They invaded Iroquois territory during the Revolutionary War. The results were horrifying.
Watch this, y'all. Now remember, let's stay on track. The white man said his ancestors came here to America and made a country out of nothing. Made a country out of nothing. They came over here to practice their faith.
Right. Christian Judeo.
Faith.
Laws, right.
Laws. And keep the 10 Commandments.
Yep.
That's what he just said, right?
Yep.
So watch this. Go ahead.
In April 1779, the New York militia forces struck Onondaga, the very center of the Iroquois League, burning the town and scattering its people.
Burning the town. Watch this.
Onondagas said that the American soldiers raped women. And murdered their children.
Whoa. So you rape the woman and then you murder her child. Does that sound like something that's godly?
Right.
Remember he said they came over here to practice their faith.
So the devil.
Let's read that.
They're the damn devil.
Yeah, they are the devil the Bible speaks of. Let's read Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 32.
The book of Deuteronomy.
Verse 30.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 30.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt betroth a wife.
Thou shalt marry a wife.
And another man shall lie with her.
Don't we just read that? The white man took that wife and raped her. Took the women of our forefathers and raped them. And then murdered their children. That's some evil stuff. That's some evil stuff, man.
And then they got the nerve to say they came over to practice.
They came over to practice their faith.
Hell no.
Christianity is the bloodiest religion on the face of the planet. For thousands of years, they've been doing nothing but murdering God's people. Go back.
Several months later, an American army invaded the homelands of the Senecas and Cayugas,
Go ahead.
the two westernmost Iroquois nations. They burned 40 towns, boundless orchards, and crops in the field.
Read.
They contributed to people's forced dispersal and migration, and an Iroquois diaspora
Watch this.
that continues to this day.
So the stuff they did in 1700, it still continues this day. Go ahead.
Damn.
Read.
And migration and Iroquois diaspora that continues to this day, with Iroquois communities in 2 Canadian provinces and 3 American states.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah. Let me
jump in.
Let me get Psalms 50 and verse 16. Hey man, this thing is it's amazing how Esau is just evil, man. Go ahead, because what they claiming is that they came over here to practice the 10 commandments and the laws of God, right? Psalms 50 and verse 16.
The book of Psalms, chapter 50 and verse 16.
Bring it out.
But unto the wicked.
The wicked is Esau, the Edomites, the so-called white man who is the red man today. Read on.
God saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth?
In other words, these commandments don't belong to you. This book, this history book, ain't yours. What does it got to do with you? Right. You know, read on.
Seeing thou hatest instructions, and castest my words behind thee.
It's obvious that they hate instructions and cast God's words behind them because they don't care. The 10 Commandments is here. They broke all of them, every last one of them. And they claim that they came over here to keep that. That's a lie. Go ahead. I'm done with that.
They came over here to practice their faith.
Right. Their faith in murder. Like
their faith. That is amazing that he would even say that because it's the truth. They came over to practice their.
This is that right.
And their faith involves murder, rape, genocide, pillage, colonization.
Yep.
That's what the Christianity faith represents. So when you are calling yourself a Christian in Christianity, that's what you are following. You are following the faith of the murder of your people. You're following the faith of the colonization of your people. You're following the faith of the rape and robbing and pillages of your people. That's what you are doing in Christianity.
Who raised you?
That's what you're doing. Go back. We're almost done.
These soldiers hope to distract and terrify the Haudenosaunee and, in General George Washington's own words, extirpate them from the country. Before they marched, the American soldiers drank a toast promising civility, or death to all American savages.
To all American.
You know what that means? That means convert or die. Civility or death. They put that Christian cross, that wood across your face.
That cross.
If you did not convert, you're gonna die. You was gonna get murdered. You're gonna die. What? A horrible death. You're gonna die. You know.
The Iroquois retreated in advance of the American army, finding shelter with the British at Fort Niagara. There they suffered. Many died during the brutal winter that followed the invasion.
So even when they tried to seek help from the other race of white people of Esau, they still died.
They all the same.
Damn!
They all the
still
same.
died.
Right.
Yeah, they all the same.
No matter where
Go
you
ahead.
go.
To Indians, the founders were not freedom fighters, but invaders.
And that's what they are. Invaders. Read.
Were invaders and perfidious and cruel white savages.
Whoa. White savages. That's what our forefathers called these demons.
That's right.
Read.
They knew white settlers not as champions of liberty, etching a republic on a blank slate, as Santorum described them, but as butchers, killers, and madmen.
This is how our forefathers saw these devils. Madmen, killers, butchers. Read.
They called them long knives, a terrifying name that reflected the violence with which they long had been associated.
Look, it says long knives, right? What's another term for a knife? Ooh, a sword. Yep. Give me that in Genesis. Give me the blessing in Genesis, man. Because the Lord said this man was going to be like that. That's how you know, bro. It's all script. It's all biblical,
the
bro.
Bible was a real book,
bro. It's all biblical. You got it? Genesis 39. That's 27, 39.
The book of Genesis, chapter 27 and verse 39.
Bring it out.
And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth.
Talking about the white man Esau. This is the blessing from the beginning. Read.
And of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword.
And by the what?
By thy sword.
God says by the sword. Come on.
And by thy sword shalt thou live.
God says by the sword shall you live, Mr. White Man. That's Mr. Red Man, who God calls Esau. And our forefathers figured that thing out.
Right.
They called him long knife. Go back. Go back and read that again.
They called them long knives, a terrifying name that reflected the violence with which they long had been associated.
What it reflected the violence. Go to Ezekiel 35. That reflected the violence. Our forefathers figured that thing out. Unfortunately, it was too late. Ezekiel 35 and verse 3.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 35 and verse 3.
Bring it out.
And say unto it, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O Mount Seir.
Mount Seir represents Esau. I do mean, read.
I am against thee.
The white man. God says, I'm against you, read.
And I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate.
I will destroy you, read.
I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord.
Go ahead.
Because thou hast had a...
Here we go, slow down. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, a forever lasting from year to year, day to day, breath to breath, generation to generation, hatred, read.
And has shed the blood of the children of Israel.
Watch this.
By the force of the sword.
That's how you know God is talking about the white man.
Right.
By the force of the sword. What our forefathers called them back then? Long knives. That's biblical, man.
That show you two things. That the so-called Native Americans is God. They're Northern Kingdom. They're Israel. Dang, and that show you that Esau is a damn devil. This is talk about Esau.
Yep.
Northern Kingdom knew that was Esau. The Bible was saying that.
The Bible said, yep, that's Esau. And it's a reason why we're going through all of this. It's a reason. Go back to Arca. We almost done.
Those in did.
And they all right, now we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break, y'all. When we come back, we're gonna talk. I got to deal with the military again. I'm sorry, y'all. We got Memorial Day, what, next Monday? I gotta talk about you military folks. I gotta talk about you military folks. Now, I ain't saying if you in the military, I pray you do your time, do what you gotta do. But if you contemplate going into the military, I would not do it. I would say, hell no. I'd rather go work at McDonald's. I work 3 jobs. I would not join the military because the time is ticking, y'all. Ain't no coincidence that the more violence comes upon the earth, the more that America is starting to put out UFO sightings.
Right.
Bring it out. Now we have to explain it now. Think about it, bro.
Right.
When they leak stuff, that means that the filing cabinets of evidence are what is it called? Overflowing with evidence.
But this ain't no leaking cabinets. They just open the faucet and just let it. Hey, aliens are
real. No, they ain't letting it. They not letting it flow. They putting it out one. It's real. We got to take this out. This is the least amount of evidence that we can give the people. That means they have substantial evidence, man, of what they know, of what they see, who is that they see, why they're seeing it, who they're coming for. They know those are the chariots and the angels inside the chairs that's coming back for the nation of Israel that's keeping God's commandments. They know that. They know that thing. I'm telling you. So when they leak stuff, that's because that's the least amount of evidence that they can leak without it being a huge deal to them. All right, y'all. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Shalom. All praise. Welcome back. Welcome hey, that's a fire track.
Yeah, it is.
Fire!
That thing was hard. That thing was dope, man.
All praise to the Most High. All praises to. All right, y'all. So we back, man. Let's get right into it for all you military folks. All you military folks that's talking about you want to join the military. You want to join the military.
You sound like Uncle Ruckus.
You want to join the military. You want to join it. You want to join it. Let's burst your bubble tonight. Let's pull up the first one.
ICE tried deporting a U.S.-born Latino veteran.
Damn.
Now the city is paying him $100.
You can turn it up a little bit. Come on, y'all. He went all the way down. And I'm like,
ICE tried deporting a U.S.-born Latino veteran. Now the city is paying them $190,000.
So this brother put his life on the line to serve this country. So wait a minute. So I could be illegal as long as I'm putting my life on the line to serve the country. But I can't live in America if I'm illegal. That makes no damn sense. Go ahead and play it. Go ahead and read it.
Following 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security. With it came ICE, mission, immigration enforcement, the identification, arrest, and deportation of undocumented immigrants throughout the U.S. That's right, ICE is not the same as Border Patrol agents arrest immigrants at the border, while ICE arrests undocumented immigrants already living. Under President Obama, ICE prioritized removing documented. President Trump promised to target ad hombre, a phrase in conjunction with violent criminals and gang members. But after assuming office, he ordered ICE to arrest all undocumented, no matter their background. More recently, Congress passed an emergency funding bill to help alleviate. ICE now has an annual budget of $6 billion, more than 20,000 law enforcement support personnel offices in the United States and around the world.
I go to the article. It's long past all the other behind.
How, Sway?
Grand Rapids will pay $190,000 settlement to a Latino American war veteran who was wrongly detained by federal immigration officials.
And only $190,000. That ain't nothing. Go ahead, man.
The city commission unanimously approved the payment of Yelmar Ramos Gomez on Tuesday to resolve a Michigan Department of Civil Rights complaint. Ramos Gomez was detained last December by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials for deportation after he was arrested on trespassing charges, said immigration attorneys. ICE and county officials had confused Ramos Gomez, 7, with being an immigrant, even though he had his U.S. passport and other ID on him at the time of his arrest.
Think about that. How can they still arrest you for being an immigrant with a ID, a passport, a person he has some type of military identification?
Come on now, dog.
How can they still take you? You know why? Because when they see so-called Hispanics, their first thought is, this nigga, this, what they call it, this, what
Beaner, wetback.
Greaser. This greaser is an immigrant.
Damn!
Let's go.
It's the same way back then when you have the passes, the slave pass, just take the things, crumble them up, and still lynch you.
Yeah,
for being out.
Talk about what patty rollers. Man, patty rollers.
Same thing.
He was held for 3 days and set to be deported.
Held for 3 days, bruh. This man went to jail for 3 days. Now, I know some of y'all said, well, just 3 days. You ain't never been to jail.
Come on now.
You ain't never been to an ICE
I was just going to say an ICE detention center. Yeah, and on top of that, it says set to be deported.
Yeah, so they telling them, hey, you being deported.
Right.
He like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm a what do you call it? Citizen of America.
Right.
I served this country. I got all my documentation. What do you mean you about to deport me?
The level of stress. Oh, man.
Bro, if they would have deported him,
damn,
it would have took him years to get. Go ahead.
He was held 3 days and set to be deported till his mother contacted an attorney to rescue him from jail.
All praises for that. Go ahead.
The detention outraged his family and civil rights attorney who say it's an example of how immigration and county officials have become overzealous.
Overzealous. That's what they call racism. Overzealous.
Right.
No such thing as being overzealous. It's called racism. Go ahead.
Overzealous in immigration enforcement.
So this is what it needs to say. Who says it's an example of how immigration and county officials have become racist in immigration enforcement. That's what it needs to say. Not overzealous. Racist. Go ahead.
They also say it's an example of racial profiling of Latinos by immigration officials and police.
Come on, they should have just put that first and left it there.
I don't feel good about what they did to my son. Maria Gomez Velasquez.
It's not Velasquez.
Velasquez.
Yeah.
Maria
Gomez Velasquez.
His mother told the Detroit Free Press during a phone interview, they were not listening to my son even though he had ID on him. Not right. My son is from here. He's born here. A United States citizen. He served in the Marines.
The Marines.
Highest branch.
The military.
The military.
But they don't care what my son did for his country.
Ooh, read on. Watch this part.
While the mother of Gomez Ramos is an immigrant from Guatemala, it's unclear what country ICE wanted to deport Ramos Gomez to.
That's scary. That's scary. That last part right there, when I read that's the scariest part. Because they said, I'm going to deport you
wherever.
They about to deport him in any country he's not even from. He ain't never been there. His mother's from Guatemala, but they might deport him to damn Venezuela.
He got no family.
No family, don't know nothing,
nobody.
don't know what's going on. He going to go down there to be murdered. Look, he got bro, he got a passport.
United States of America.
Passport, man. Look at that.
Come on now, dog.
Go down.
Come on, man.
Police Captain Curtis Vanderkeet served a 20-hour unpaid suspension for violating department policy.
20 hours?
20 hours?
20 hours?
That's 2 days.
Come on.
Come
that ain't
on,
nothing.
Man.
Come on.
That's nothing. 20 hours, that's not even, that's like a day and a half.
That's 1 day in overtime.
Right. 20 hours unpaid suspension for violating his brother's rights. I'm telling you, man, even though you are military, you so-called Hispanics, America don't give a damn about you being in the military.
Right.
Once you have done your job, once they have experimented on you, once you have laid your life down many times, you come back, they don't give a damn about you. You like a used tampon. They just throw you away. You done soaked up all the blood and just bloop, throw you away.
What it is you're meant to die wherever you were supposed to be serving at. You're a meat shield to them.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it, man.
Go ahead. Go to the next article.
That's crazy.
Go to the next one.
Where you going?
In Vanessa Guillen's case, a Latino family's push for answers leads to military reform. The disappearance and killing of the Fort Hood soldier resonated with the Latino communities nationwide as they become the fastest growing minority population in the military.
Go ahead. What's this, y'all?
Lupe Guillen always wears a pin that says justice for Vanessa. Ever since the remains of her sister, Army Special Vanessa Guillen, were found near Fort Hood in July, more than 2 months after she disappeared from
I want y'all to pay attention. She was found near Fort Hood in July, more than 2 months after she disappeared from the Texas military base where she was stationed. So she disappeared from the base, but then her body was found at the base 2 months later. Some don't go together. Some ain't adding up right here.
Right.
Keep going.
We're going to fight for you because that's family for us, Lupe said during a press conference Tuesday afternoon alongside her parents and her older sister, Myra. But the family has been fighting since April 22nd, when Vanessa was last seen at a parking lot at Fort Hood. Her mother, Gloria, said in Spanish, advocates and family members quickly organized rallies outside the base and launched a Find Vanessa Guillen hashtag social media campaign. More than 2 months later, the calls to find Vanessa Guillen turned into demands for justice for Vanessa Guillen when her body was found near Fort Hood.
So it says she went missing, right? And then they did a campaign, and then 2 months later, once they start demanding her body just magically appears back at the base. Her dead body just magically appears back at the base. Go ahead.
Near Fort Hood. Since then, the Guillens have repeatedly denounced the command climate and culture at Fort Hood while advocating for the protection of soldiers stationed at the military base.
Watch this.
With some of the highest rates of murder, sexual assault, and harassment in the Army.
I want y'all to pay attention to this. It says the culture at Fort Hood, some of the highest rates of murder at Fort Hood, highest rates of sexual assault, highest rates of harassment. I'm telling you, bro, people are getting murdered in the military by their old comrades.
Right. And you would think that y'all brothers in arms, you know, that you would feel safe or you would have some type of security in the military.
Right.
You don't.
You
don't.
You ain't got no security.
You don't.
You are still hated in the military.
Right. And the atrocities are probably it will be worse because there is nobody to search for you. There's nobody to do the things that they would
There's
do.
nobody to hold the mercenaries accountable.
There you go.
Bring it out. Who's
There
gonna
you
hold a mercenary accountable? He's a mercenary, murderer. He undercover. He going out killing people for the country. You don't mean nothing. He kill bodies for a living. You take bodies for a living. You mean nothing.
Damn. Nothing.
Right, you're nothing. He saw the white man join the military to kill people. It's people that have went through the military have never got a body, end up snapping, end up going crazy because they wanted to know how that felt so bad to kill somebody.
That reminds me of the movie Jarhead, man.
That's exactly what it is. When the dude snapped, the dude never killed nobody and he itching. He wanted to do it so bad. Go back. We almost done.
Weeks before Vanessa was found dead, the Army opened a separate inquiry into the allegations that she had been sexually harassed.
She had been sexually assaulted. She's been raped. Read.
At Fort Hood, after the Guillens said she had told relatives and Army colleagues about her harassment. The allegations prompted countless service members to share their experience with sexual assault and harassment on social media using the I Am Vanessa Guillen hashtag.
So now what she went through has caused a lot of people in the military to come out and say, yeah, I went through this. I went through that. I went through sexual harassment. I went through rape. Remember last week, the brother was raped by 6 dudes.
Yep, I was just going to say, you brought that out last week.
Brother had a stick stuck up his rectum. Then he got sodomized
by 3 of them.
I think it was 4 of them.
No, it was 6 of them in total. 3 of them did the stick in the rectum. Other 3 penetrated.
Yeah, penetrate them. It's crazy, man. And what they do is they cover it up. I mean, think about it. You're in the military. You're a Marine. It's so much stuff that goes on in the what they call it, in the clique of being a Marine. That the murders, the rapes, y'all don't think they be over there in the Middle East not raping women?
Hell no. Right.
You think they don't be over there not killing children? You crazy as hell. The white men be doing all types of crap over there in the Middle East. All types of crap. Go ahead.
After Vanessa went missing, the family's efforts galvanized their community in Texas. Celebrities such as the actor Selma Hayek, elected officials, and Latino advocacy groups who demanded answers, further highlighting how a Mexican-American family's push for answers is sparking meaningful change in the military at a time when increasingly more people of color and women are enlisting in the armed forces. She could have been any one of our daughters, Representative Sylvia Garcia, Democrat, Texas, who has been helping the Guillens for months, told NBC News. She could have been our niece, our granddaughter. Everybody identified with it, said as she choked up with emotion.
It's crazy. Give me Psalms 50 real. Give me get Psalms 50 into it. He saw the damn devil. Wherever they go, whatever they do it for themselves. They covet, they murder, they do whatever they need to for themselves. Read Psalms 50 and verse 20.
The book of Psalms, chapter 50 and verse 21.
Bring it out.
These things hast thou done. I kept silence.
So these things you have done, you have come over here to this side of the world. You took the land of Osiris from our Northern Kingdom brother, our so-called Native American brothers. You have done these things, murdered and killed, coveted and pillaged these lands. Read on.
Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such a one as thyself.
So you in the military, you run in the military, you basically rule the world. So now God is saying you thought I was like you. You thought I just sat back and because I ain't say nothing or do nothing, you was good. Read on.
I will reprove thee.
God said he gonna correct you. Read.
And set them in order before thine eyes.
So we gonna be set in order in our rightful place before the eyes of our enemies. So Northern Kingdom, y'all gotta wake up. Gotta wake up. Stay out of their military. Stay out of their military. Man.
Like I said, if you are in the military, do your time.
Right.
Do your time. Do what you gotta do. All right. Do what you gotta do to get out. But that day, you gonna have to make a choice. But the scripture talks about how they're going to fight against Christ. Let me get that.
Right.
Ezra chapter 13. What verse? What verse 1?
The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13 and verse 1.
Go ahead. Bring it out.
And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, and it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven.
That man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. Read.
And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him.
Watch this.
And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth.
That man is talking about Christ. That man is talking about Jesus the Christ. Right. It says, whenever the voice went out of his mouth, read.
All they burnt.
All they burned.
That heard his voice.
All that heard his voice burned. Read.
Like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire.
Watch this.
And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude. Of men.
Go ahead.
Out of number from the four winds of the heaven.
The four winds of the heaven.
To subdue the man that came out of the sea.
They gather, all the nations are going to gather together to subdue the man that came out of the sea, that came out of the sky, Jesus the Christ. All of the nations are going to fight him. All the armies, all the militaries, all the navies, all the Marines. They're going to come together, all the special forces are going to come together like Christ. Read.
Verse 6. I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain, flew up upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not.
You read that in Joel chapter 3 in the valley of Jehoshaphat, the so-called Middle East. Read.
And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together. Subdue him, were sore afraid.
They were scared crapless. But watch this.
And yet durst fight.
But they still gonna fight. That let you know if you in the military in that day, they gonna tell, hey, you gotta go fight.
That's a cold.
That's why you gotta be careful, man. You gonna have to fight against Christ. It's a lose.
That's a scary
thing.
It's a
lose. Think about it. It says they were so afraid. The Bible tell you all these nations gonna be scared crapless, man. With all their technology. Think about it. With all their nukes. With all their jet fighters. With all their equipment that they don't even show.
They satellites.
They satellites. They still gonna be scared.
Bring it. That go to show you, man, Christ coming back with a force.
That let you know how powerful, how intimidating Christ gonna be. Man.
He ain't coming.
That let you know how evil and dangerous. Blood, Christ coming to shed blood. Jesus. He's coming to kill and destroy, man, in that day. To the point where all these strong nations who ain't scared of nothing, scared.
Christ ain't coming back as a man.
Nah. Go into the article. All right, go to the next one. Let me count. Sure.
Body found in Rio Grande, identified as missing guardsman. Elizabeth Rivera received the call Monday afternoon from the state office of the medical investigator. A body recovered late last week from the Rio Grande was that of her son. She was devastated to learn her son, 20-year-old National Guardsman Juan Munoz, had died, Rivera said.
Munoz. Squiggly line, probably.
But she...
He Judah, bro. He don't know about that.
But she also was relieved that the Tao family could bring him home and lay him to rest nearly 3 months after he disappeared. He was the best son that you could have, Rivera said in Spanish. He was very respectful, caring, serious, and a hard worker. He was so mature for someone who was 20 years old. He really cared for the well-being of others. Tao County Sheriff's deputies recovered Munoz's body Thursday from the river, about 2.5 miles south of the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge. Rio Grande Gorge Bridge. according to the New Mexico State Police. It was first discovered by a kayaker. OMI identified the body Monday. State Police Lieutenant Mark Soriano said Munoz was reported missing February 20th after he failed to appear for National Guard training that morning in Rio Rancho. Police later found his car near the Gorge Bridge, where they believed it had been parked the night before. Inside were his keys, cell phone, and wallets.
This brother had his key. Now, you know, Israel don't go nowhere without the cell phone. Brother would leave his wallet and go to work, cell phone, and turn around. Cell phone. Brothers ain't gonna leave, and not only your keys in the car, you know, we take our keys everywhere. Yep. Sure that door locked. That's how you know this foul play. Go ahead.
Munoz was reported missing February 20th.
State police investigators.
State police investigators said they are still investigating his death.
Good.
Officer Dusty Francisco wrote in an email that Munoz was scheduled for a mental health evaluation.
Oh, here we go.
Right.
Now they trying to blame mental health. Go ahead.
So his absence from training raised concerns.
Go ahead.
There were concerns he was suffering from mental health issues.
Blame it on the mental health.
Francisco wrote. September 2019, Munoz's girlfriend, 16-year-old Maria Cruz, was killed in a high-profile drunken driving crash caused by country singer Hailey Ray Harris. A month later, his uncle and father figure, Javier Munoz, was killed in Tao. Though deaths took a toll, Juan Munoz's family members said, but they are not convinced he took his own life at the bridge. Never made comments about wanting to end his life. Rivera said in an interview last week, never showed any signs. They continue to grieve the loss of a son, brother, and cousin. The family is still seeking answers about Juan Munoz's death.
Now, I would say the suicide rate of the military is very high. You got veterans that kill themselves every single day. And let you know what's going on in the military is very traumatic. It's a trauma, man. It's stuff that they go through in the military, they don't get help for. Not only do they do themselves, but they experience things done to them that they cannot say, they cannot talk about. They can't say nothing. It's the code. It's the Marine code. It's the Army code. What happens here stays here. A lot of secrecy. Go ahead.
As they continue to grieve the loss of a son, brother, and cousin, the family is still seeking answers about Juan Munoz's death. At least the search for him physically, that is done. And now we can put him to rest, said cousin Vanessa Gonzalez. We'll keep being his voice until we get answers. And the family wants information from state police and National Guard about what occurred the night Munoz disappeared.
All right, go to the next one. Well, Maya, this is all the stuff that's going on in the military. This is all the what do they call it? I'll play.
Right. It's just one branch.
Yeah, this is one branch.
It's not.
Bro, don't even get me started about the Navy. Oh,
come on.
You want to talk about sex parties and you want to talk about fornication? You want to talk about people getting raped? Go talk about the Navy. You on the damn ship for 6 months. This is the last one.
My wife, Linda, and I both worked for the Department of the Army. We had 5 children. Dana was a very disciplined child. First girl, I think she kind of felt, my daddy done took care of us all these years. Now he's got to worry about paying for college. I think I'm going to help him out, and I'm going to earn my money. She said, I want to go in the Army. She was there 6 weeks. She called home almost every day. Last conversation that we had with 17th July, she said, it looks like I'm going to be home for Christmas. And she said, don't decorate the tree until she came home. 7:30 morning, 19th of July. Our doorbell rang. Soldier. Stepped in our foyer. This morning, L. Johnson died of self-injury.
I want y'all to imagine that. Put this back on screen. I want y'all to imagine your daughter, your first daughter, never had a problem. She got a mother and a father. She's came from a well-raised home with a mother and a disciplined, loved. She didn't face drug use. She wasn't a whore. She wasn't a baby mama. Wasn't abused. She wasn't raped. Who just wrote her father a few days before saying, I'm coming home for Christmas. Don't decorate a tree without me. Then a few days later, your daughter committed suicide. You crazy as hell. You think I'm going to believe that? Your daughter committed suicide, sir. Come on, bruh. Ain't no way in hell. Wait a minute. My daughter just said she coming home in a few days. My daughter had been up for 6 months. She ain't even seen action. She ain't seen the affairs of war. She ain't been in a gunfight. She only been there 6 months training. And you want to tell me my daughter killed herself?
How, Sway?
Hey, man, this man is the devil. They try to cover this stuff up. And then they got the nerve to come speak some bull crap to a father who was a part of the military, who raised his kids right, who just spoke to his daughter and tell him, your daughter committed suicide.
Come on now.
Go back. Watch this. Damn. It gets deep.
I was overwhelmed. I fell back on this. Just a total shock to me. And she started yelling so loud. Horrible echo that house. It was just horrible. Wait a minute. You saying that my daughter committed suicide? He said her death is being investigated. Casualty liaison.
Stop. Now, remember, first thing he said, your daughter died from self-inflicted. And then he said, it's being played. Wait a minute. So you came and told me this, and you wasn't even sure of how she. You came in to just expect me to just run with that suicide thing. Y'all not even sure her cause of death, but you coming to tell me died from self.
Hell no. Came within days. He said, I was told to tell you to have a closed casket. Wanted to have an open casket. The funeral. And my daughter, Keisha, walked over to that casket. Next thing I know, I hear her, they murdered my sister. Did you see her face? Her face is all beat up. Her nose is all broke. Army in 10 months supposedly doing an investigation. Tried to pressure them for a copy of the evidence. And actually, it's a congressional act. You take the information that the Army didn't want us to have, you compare that with the criminal investigator's report. Don't match. Didn't find her in her barracks. Army lied about that. They found her in the contractors. I called my brother Joseph, because Joseph has a degree in criminal science. He said, I'm looking at a dislocated shoulder and a broke neck. Somebody beat her up. He said, it gets worse. Somebody shoved something up in the. This was a rape. Second autopsy showed part of her vaginal area was surgically removed. I started hyperventilating. I could barely breathe. Look at the autopsy. Look at the paperwork. They were both designed to substantiate a suicide. The medical examiner said this was a suicide based on the information he received from the criminal investigator. Criminal investigator's decision that it was suicide was based on the fact that medical examiner said it. So they blamed each other. My daughter was third generation. I worked for you for 25 years supporting troops. She gets brutally raped and murdered and treat us like dirt. This has gone on for 6 years. I got to get justice, baby. Not only that, I found out that so my fight is bigger than just Dina.
Hey, happy Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day. We're going to remember those that were murdered in Esau's military by Esau's military. This sister was raped and murdered, bro. And when you do more research, they actually shoved bleach up her. So it wouldn't be no DNA. Damn. Broke neck, broke nose. Her face was all. They whooped her as they beat her to death, bro. Broke neck, dislocated shoulder. You know what it means to cut out a piece of her vagina? That means that from the top to the bottom, everybody was in on it. To do the autopsy, you cut out a piece of her. Just so that it could never be any evidence of who did it. You know, some happened to her, but it can never be any evidence of who did it. Just cut out vagina totality. So there can never be any evidence.
Hear what he said. It's happened up.
Yeah. He said we were third generation. Third generation. So that means his father, him, her, all served the military. All served the military.
Do Esau care? Hell.
Esau don't care about your military. Esau don't care if you serve the military. God says you're going to be here. Let me get the last scripture, and we out. That said you're going to be hated of all nations. Not the biggest. It's 26 and verse 17.
Of Leviticus 26 and verse 17.
Bring it out.
And I will set my face against you. Ye shall be slain before your enemies.
Go ahead.
They that hate
you
shall reign over you.
And
ye shall flee when none pursueth you.
God says they that hate you was going to reign over you. And that's what's going on. We got a people that hate our guts reigning over us. Yeah. We're giving them our power. We are consciously, knowingly submitting to them in totality. But, like I said, these are the stories that you won't hear about. These are the stories that you won't see on TV. These are the stories that brothers, men, and husbands, and fathers, and wives, and mothers are still enduring every single day. They got to remember their daughter was raped. As a father, think about that.
Right.
As a father, you got to remember your daughter was raped, was beat to death, and you can do nothing about it. All right, y'all. So, something to think about. All right, y'all. So we're gonna hold to get up off of here on Natives Hour 10 Tribes. Hey, subscribe, y'all. Like, share, subscribe to IUIC Denver. Booster Club. Donate. So that the profits can get to the four corners.
Do your part. Put your burger in.
Do your part. Hey, want to give a shout out to the IT booth. Y'all got a hand clap?
The IT team.
Y'all got a hand clap today?
All praises.
All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. All right, y'all. So with that, we got FCA coming up next. Tune in next week for the Natives Hour,
Home of the 10 Tribes.
With that, we say shalom.